Wow, that was abrupt. Oh, right. Sorry about that. Hey, everyone. How's it going? My name is Bonnie Violet, and I am a queer chaplain. In case you don't know where you are at Drag and Spirituality. This is our summer series of gender diverse. So this is the first of 12 interviews that will be taking place once a week over the next 12 weeks, every Wednesday at 5 p.m. It's basically 5:20 p.m. Pacific time. We're in 4 different time zones. All the artists are from all over the U.S. and Canada. So I got a really cool mix of folks that I think you're going to be really happy to meet. I do want to go over just some of the quick things real quick. This series is sponsored by Spiritual Drag Con. For folks who may not be aware, the first annual Spiritual Drag Con will be taking place this October, the 7th through the 9th in Chicago. You can learn more about the DragCon and everything by going to spiritualdragcon.com. Registration is not quite open yet, but it should be in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be looking for folks who, look for performers to perform in the drag shows. We need panelists. We need clergy and other spiritual leaders to kind of be present because we want to provide spiritual care, and we want to have like performances and like churches and synagogues and also non-spiritual spaces too. The more we can kind of get to connect with us, the better. We have 19 of us planning the conference from all over the US and Canada again, a mixture of clergy, other spiritual leaders, and drag artists. I'd like to put out a big shout out and thank you to my Patreon members who support a queer chaplain. I'm going to run their names across the bottom of the screen here for a little bit and throughout, so you can kind of see who is supporting us if you're interested in that yourself. It's a way that you can contribute monthly as little as $3.33 just to kind of help continue to support this work. And it's just a one-person show tonight, so I'm doing all the tech too, so I'll try not to be too clumsy with all that as we get going. So enough of all that. I'm really excited to bring up to the stage, I guess that's what we call it, even when we're online, my guest this evening, who is Red, and I will let them tell you a little bit more about themselves. So here we go. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
How's it going?
It is going really, really good. How are you?
I'm good. I was so glad that you could join us this evening. I know we were having some, I know I was having some lighting issues, some challenges over here. So I'm happy we were able to make it happen.
Same here.
I really like your eye makeup.
Thank you so much. It's a mixture of desperation and very, very cheap loose pigment. So
well, it looks really great on you. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love your denim.
Thank you. I kind of, it's like a denim jacket. I add a little fringe. Yeah, you know how it is.
It's giving very Miley Cyrus.
In
a good way, I swear to God. Not Miley Cyrus VMAs.
I'm a big fan of Miley.
Me too. I did not live for the twerking though.
No, that was a moment that we could have done without for sure.
Very that.
Almost everything since then though has been really good.
Magnifique, very that. My favorite song from her new album, I think it.
Oh, I think we might have lost you for there. Rut-row. Are you there? Oh.
Hello. I'm here.
we lost you there for a second.
Sorry.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell folks where you're located.
Yeah, I am currently located in Pooler, Georgia, but I perform mainly in Savannah. I am 21 years old, and I'm just a cross-dresser who chain smokes, and it's, you know, gripped by slight anxiety on the daily, but cross-dressing helps with it.
Thank you. It's a therapy, huh? Coping therapy.
Definitely. It's a, what's the word? Copacetic? I don't even know if that's that's applicable to the situation, but
Right.
sounds like it works. You know?
Yeah. No, I get what you were saying. It makes sense to me.
Work.
Yes. Yes. And so I usually, when we get started with this, I like to start off, you know, a lot of my goal is just to try to give people a platform and a space to share what their experience is around spirituality and drag. And for some of us that intercepts and they're similar, and for others, maybe not as much. And I think a lot of that for me started when I was very young. So I'm curious to know, maybe could you tell us a little bit about kind of what you, how you were brought up, maybe if there was any religion or spirituality or, you know, things that you learned as a child, I guess.
Definitely. My house growing up was mainly a Christian household. I think it was Baptist. I think my dad is Baptist. But it wasn't like, you know, overtly Christian or judgmental, I would say. It was loosey-goosey Christian, I want to say. But as I started to grow up and like preteens, like 11, 12, my sisters were going to youth group. So I wanted to, of course, join. And that was like my first introduction into Christianity, like without being taught it by my parents. There we go.
Right.
And that was something, you know.
Did you enjoy it at all at first, or was it not?
Yeah, it was really, really nice. Trying to get in touch with something that I felt was like bigger than me and had more of a purpose than just judgment, which at first, that's all I thought when I was being told about the Bible and stuff like that. It just all seemed very scary and kind of like it just seemed kind of culty. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh no, if I don't like appease the old man in the sky, I'm going down forever. Like,
was that something you were pretty aware of, like from the get-go, or?
Yes and no. It wasn't like anything that family members were like, you going to hell. But we had a couple family members back in upstate New York. I'm not gonna name names. That's their tea to spill. But after I came out, they got very gung-ho on like sharing articles and stuff like that. I think it was one of my aunts who shared an article to my Facebook, my personal Facebook, about being gay and going to hell. And yeah, that as like a 11-year-old, I was like, hello, you know?
Yeah.
But at first I didn't feel that type of judgment going to youth group and sitting with the kids and being able to, you know, I don't know, get in touch with it per se. It was more of a comforting feeling until it started to gravitate more towards like anti-LGBT sayings. Like, it wasn't like full-fledged or anything like that. Nobody was getting, you know, shot with arrows or anything, but it was like little stuff that built up, like Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Made little chubby me do a double take, like with donuts behind me or something.
Yeah. So what, I guess, how did your sexuality play into that?
I knew from a really, really young age that like I was completely different from a majority of the kids in the small little town in upstate that I came from. I barely had any friends, and there was one other gay kid that I really looked up to. He was in a drama play, and I think this was after I started going to youth group, where I like found somebody that I was like, that one's kind of like me. or like I'm kind of like that one, you know. And I think the play was Coat of Many Colors, and I was like, oh sis, it's on and popping now. Y'all just awoke the sleeping dragon. All right.
Right.
But
How old were you with that when that happened?
like 10, 11, I was
Okay.
really young, but like
Mhm.
I knew, you just know. I swear there's a picture of me when I was like 6 or 7 in our family garden going like this.
Mhm.
Like, girl, is she, you know? Yes,
Right,
she is. But once I like discovered the terminology for it, I guess,
right.
what
Hmm.
it meant, that's when I was like, oh, I identify with this. And then having that understanding of what I was identifying as came with having having to understand people's discontent for my identity, if that makes sense. Like, and that was kind of shocking because at first, as a kid, I'm like, why is it anybody's goddamn business? Like,
Right.
like, why should anybody have an opinion, positive or negative, on this? You know what I mean? Here
Hmm.
for support, but like honestly, 12-year-old me was just trying to find a boyfriend. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. But it was kind of conflict after discovering the hateful side of knowing I was gay.
Hmm.
It was a lot of conflict, actually. Like, you go through like back and forth in your head. It was a very, very small town. So, like, if something bad happened to me, I was like, it's because I came out, it's because I'm gay. No, it's because
Hmm.
people are dumb. Like, people are just dumb as shit sometimes. It was very, very judgmental, and, you know, Godspeed to them. I don't know.
Yeah. When were you able to? So you're because you're not in Savannah right now, but that's where you perform.
Yep.
So you're still in the town that you grew up in.
Oh, no, no, that is in upstate New York. I'm in Pooler, Georgia right now.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks for.
Yeah, we out of there. It's a little too yee for my liking.
Hmm.
Honestly, I remember it being 10 times like bigger and more positive. I remember visiting this past August because my grandmother was really sick, and I have never felt like I was gonna get hate crime more.
Mm.
And it was shocking to me because, moving down here was like, oh my god, this is horrible. Because people, when we moved to Bluffton or Beaufort, South Carolina, and the bullying, all of that stuff was nonstop.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to go back home. I can't wait to go back to New York. And after finding the gay scene in Savannah and having it like embrace me and entering in with Star Search, the contest that they have at Club One down here, it
Hmm.
was like oh no, it was like I was missing the queer community when I went up to upstate New York. And I was like, oh, there's gonna be so many gays up here. This is gonna
Hmm.
be great. No, there was a train track and like a Circle K.
Hmm. Do you feel like it changed, or you changed, or both? What made it so different, do you think?
Honestly, I feel like when you are a kid, you have like a pair of like fuzzy goggles on to like the buffoonery that's going on around you
Yeah, yeah.
with the adults, with the kids, with everything. You don't understand. But I was talking to a friend about this. You don't like really understand, or it doesn't register that people are staring at you or feel in some type of way when you're really, really little. It doesn't register with you that you are different. So you go through this like time period of figuring out why people felt some type of way before you even knew or came to the realization that you were different,
Right, right.
And I don't know, over time, after moving down here, for sure I changed. It was like a complete switch. I didn't have any friends down here when I moved. I was the plus size, weird gay kid who wore makeup to school and, sat alone sometimes.
Hmm.
And that it got really, really hard for a little bit, but I walked into the living room one day, and my sister and my mom were sitting down, and they were watching RuPaul's Drag Race. And at first, I was like, "What the hell is this shit? Like, y'all weird." Like, cut to me now, like a Freddie Mercury, if I fell on a Mac counter, you know?
Right.
But little did they know that night, I like recorded the entire season. I believe it was season 3, and binge watched it completely that night at like, well, that morning after binge watching it. It was like me like giddy with excitement because I found something that mixed everything that I felt passionate about: acting, fashion, comedy, design, buffoonery, you know. Like, it mixed it all into one little bundle, and something I immediately felt inspired by. I felt it was like a sense of relief, like weights have been lifted off my shoulders in a sense, like having something to identify with, because I love the arts. I love drawing, dancing, singing, acting, but I didn't know that there was a medium that was queer-centric and performing-centric that mixed everything art-wise in one.
Yeah.
Finding it was like, oh my god, like, I don't have to bake cakes or like be a vet or something important like that. I can just be a cross-dresser in a bar.
Right.
And live my zhuzh, you know?
Yeah, how is your family with all of that?
Honestly, they were very, very supportive of me coming out as gay. They were, my mother had some like second guessings at first when it came to like the makeup and stuff, but after, like, I remember specifically her birthday party, it was like a flower crown that I was wearing and ugly ass makeup. She like fully had the right to say to me, do you really have to go out with me like that? Because it was badass makeup, okay? Like, it was rotten. But after like one of the comments like that, it was just like I had like a breakdown in front of her, and it was like, this is not something that's going away. Like, in my head, it was when I found out that drag and gender wibbly wobbliness was a thing, I like took it and ran with it. I started going to school like the next week in makeup. I didn't know that highlighter was not setting powder. And girl, she was the pumpkin tin man, okay? It was horrible, but...
And this was all during high school?
Yep. I immediately found, like, I don't know, like a sense of security in it, even though it was, like, kind of egging on or provoking the bullies. It was like, y'all are gonna bully me anyway. Y'all have bullied me anyway. Why can't I wear a goddamn lipstick? Like, if you gonna bully me, I'm gonna look fabulous while you do so, okay?
Right. Because you were getting bullied for all that even before.
Oh, in spades full. I was the new kid, I was the big kid, I was the weird kid, and I was the gay kid. So it was the quadruple whammy. And then when it came out with the makeup, it was just like, that was the point of no return. Mama, people were basically waving me goodbye at, you know, mental asylums or some shit. I had a few really, really sweet people and really, really good teachers, but it was just like overwhelming anxiety being there. The only thing that made it even slightly bearable was being able to express myself with my makeup and my clothing choice, even though we had uniforms. I said, we wearing little fucking ripped jeans, and I wore the tiniest little Debbie Scooter snack heels to school. Shit, you know?
Right.
It was everything. She was sickening. I gotta send you photos of that because, like, looking back on it, it was like, looking back on it now, I'm like, damn, I had some balls. But like, in the moment, it was like, man, fuck these people. I'm gonna do what I want. Like, very angsty teen.
Yeah, it's so cool to like, I mean, like from my perspective, I couldn't have imagined any of that when I was like in junior high or high school. My sexuality, my sexual orientation, drag, like none of that was like anywhere in my world. So it's cool to hear stories of younger people having just different experiences, even if it's like uncomfortable or not so great. It's like that you're still like getting to try it on and stuff. Like it's, for me, it's like, it just makes me happy to think that people are having a different experience than what I had. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And honestly, like, I don't know, because like I hear different stories, and I am thankful, so thankful for people who have had positive or more positive experiences, but I don't know, it just makes me so sad for like people who have had worse experiences. You know what I mean? Like, it's unfortunate that this is a topic of discussion that is still being had, whether certain rights are, you know,
Yeah.
ours to have. And
Yeah. Well, and it's still, you know, there still are people that are, yeah, there's like such a variety of experience though that people are having. You know, like to say that every young person is having a great experience or better experience isn't always true either. You know what I mean?
like, there are probably younger people who, no, there are definitely younger people who have had it way worse than myself. Like, I am blessed to have parents that were not homophobic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was rough times when it came to gender identity and expressing myself with makeup.
Right.
They're very supportive now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they give me their support. You know what I mean? Like, how you feel about discussing politics?
I mean,
basically politics, ain't it?
Well, I know it's so hard. I mean, I think they've made a lot of, you know, I think, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of our lives and the way that we exist has become political.
Yeah.
Like, but in and of itself, should it be? No, but it is, you know?
Honestly, I love the fact that drag is political. Like, I don't know, even like this small platform right now, it's a platform to like spread good information and spread positivity and love. And
yeah, it's a mixed, I feel like it's kind of a mixed bag because like our lives should not be up for debate. Like,
oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's the thing that's frustrating because it's like, we can't even just live our damn lives because we're stuck having to fight for our own rights or feel unsafe. Or, you know, could you imagine like what our lives could be like if we weren't having to like just deal with the daily,
Definitely.
like, you know,
the buffoonery of it all.
Yeah. I mean, it can wear on you over time. And
oh, for sure. Like, not having friends after moving from like New York down here was a lot. And then that being in like the pinnacle of like Trump era.
Yeah.
And like, as a kid, it's like that was kind of diminishing for hope. Like, to go from such a progressive legislature when it came to LGBT rights and rights in general for people.
Yeah. Definitely. I was going to ask you about this series is called Gender Diverse. I'm going to do a quick little zoom in just to change right. But
am I in frame? It went back to darkness.
No, you are in frame. But I guess you might not be able to see it, huh? You're there. You're looking.
But I feel like, wait a minute. Maybe if I go like so like this. Never mind. We ain't even gonna mess with it. I'm fine with darkness.
Well, when we're like this, can you see yourself?
Mm-mm.
No.
It's dark. I have like a little box over in not the left, the right hand corner, and that's nice for sure. But it's very very miniature.
Yeah. So sorry about that.
No, you're good. I'm just gonna assume, like I always do, that I'm stunning and flawless and gorgeous.
You look great. And for folks, I wanted to invite folks who are watching and listening with us live that whether you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, you can comment in the chat and you can ask questions of Red. And, you know,
tell me I'm skinny. No, I'm kidding.
Whatever you want to be called, they can call you, right?
Yeah.
Nothing
Don't
other
call
than
me
that.
it. Just don't call me
No,
it.
no, no. Yeah.
It's getting buck wild. Hold up.
None of that. Only love. So the question that I did have though was about gender. This series is called Gender Diverse, and so I would be curious. And I know for some folks, gender and sexual orientation and those sorts of things are very separate. For some, maybe they're one and the same. Can you kind of talk with us a little bit about your gender journey?
It's honestly been like, to put it shortly, it's been a clusterfuck, but in the best way, like a positive clusterfuck. A cluster happy, I don't know.
Right.
But honestly, like, there were points in my life where I felt like I wanted to transition. There were points in my life where I just felt overwhelmingly more male presenting. And over the course of several many years of like being asked, are you a boy or a girl? And getting frustrated because I don't know the answer to that question. I can finally just look at those people and say, yes, you know, both of them at the same time, you know, like, I feel like in my understanding, gender is like a wibbly wobbly spectrum. And I'm very much consistently teeter-tottering. It's like, it's never the same, if that makes sense. Like, there's different levels to playing with my masculine and feminine traits, and I love mixing and mashing them up and being like an androgynous stew, if you will.
Right. Yeah.
My sexuality has also kind of been fluid. Like, I don't know. I'm just here to experience shit and like reload me in, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it does feel like gender or sexuality or those sorts of things, there's some sort of expectation that it's static or like it is just you are what you are, like forever or something.
And it's not. It's always, at least in my case, it's like always changing. I learn something new about myself. Not every day, because I'm not that fast a learner, but, you know, pretty frequently. And I think it's cool. It's awesome to embrace different sides of yourself if you're not closed off to them. And I don't know. I love being a genderless creature.
Right. Yeah. Is that what you would say right now, is that you would identify as being genderless? Or
it's more like androgynous, but I don't know. I just, gender's weird. You know what I mean? Like,
totally.
I used to get so angry when people would ask if I was a boy or a girl, but like, I don't know, embracing both sides.
Yeah.
Kind of, and, you know, playing with the dial a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It helps me, I don't know, embrace my actual self, if that makes sense. And I've never felt more secure in my lack of gender identity, I guess, than I do at this point in my life, you know?
Right. Well, I think there's a lot of liberation and freedom that can come from, you know, not having that sort of click on the dial, if you will. I know for me, there's been times when I used to identify as a cis gay man. Now I identify as a trans femme genderqueer person. And one of the things that was interesting to me is like when you take on those labels, they kind of make some of they can become limiting, right? And like initially for me, they were very freeing, and it kind of gave me this new space that I felt like I could jump into and try things on. And then I feel like the older I get, the less definition there is. However, I feel like I often still need to define myself because of the world. And also I just have so much programming to undo. I felt like I held my femininity easier, more comfortably when I had like a full beard and a hairy chest and legs. And like I just felt like, I don't know, I just felt really comfortable with my femininity and I felt pretty. And then once I started actually transitioning, figuring out what my femininity is and how to hold it has become a little bit more challenging, and really trying to figure out like how far I want to go, whatever that means, right?
Yeah.
But it's definitely been this like push and pull of like, and it's hard to just do what you want to do without like thinking about how like the people around you are going to, you know, interact with you, or it might change. Because I don't know about you, but my relationships change significantly with each, if you will, identity or expression that I get to.
Honestly, like, I feel like I call them my phases. You know what I mean? It's not like a phase, but it's like an era, if you will, era phase. You know, but I don't know. I feel like with each more like reinvention of myself to my friends, and like with each different presentation I give, I don't know. It's like I'm building some type of armor that's like giving me more security. I get extremely nervous about what the performers, especially my peers, think of me and what they'll think of my drag, because I respect and looked up to drag queens since I watched and found out about RuPaul. You know what I mean?
Right.
And of course, I'll always care about what my fellow queens think and what my peers think, but at the end of the day, like, I have to stick to what's gonna make me feel more genuinely myself. Like, if I don't do that, I feel like I'm kind of molding into like some weird sad cookie cutter. And
Well, yeah. Well, do you feel like, I mean, I know for me, I feel like I'm like selling myself, like I'm robbing myself.
yeah,
I'm
like
not
a cookie
being
cutter
like, I owe it
version
to
of
myself.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not fair because we already spent parts of our lives robbing ourselves of an experience to kind of comfort other people's, you know, misgivings and ill perception and ignorance. And I ain't gonna change. I'm not gonna shave my mustache for not nary a person. Like,
Right.
but that's also the thing. Like, I go through days where I'm like, okay, I want to shave, so I'll shave and get in drag. But that's like how I'm feeling that day. That's
Exactly.
the, like you were saying, how far I want to go basically with expressing either femininity or masculinity. Like, it depends on the day. And if I show up and I have a beard that's down to here, so what? So
Right.
what? As long as I'm entertaining, and as long as I'm proud of what I leave on the stage or give to people that are around me, I don't care anymore. Like, I want the validation from peers per se, because girl, looking up to them, like having like a role model be like, you did good with like,
Yeah.
you know, it's an awesome feeling.
Yeah.
And but like at the same time, I'm here for a limited amount of time. You know, I want to express my art the way I want to express my art. I will take any critique, helpful critique, and fully apply it as long as it doesn't change like the core of what I'm presenting.
Yeah. I wanted to check in because we're also talking about spirituality. It does sound like you're, you know, it sounded like, yeah, like where would you say you're at with your spirituality now? If
Honestly, I go back and forth between, I forgot what the word was, but it's very much universe centric. I go back and forth between like a god, like a Christianity type god, and more universe centric ideals. And like, I don't know, even when I was smaller, it just made sense. Like, what you put out is what you get. But sometimes that's not true, you know?
Yeah.
And it makes somebody question sometimes, like, what certain things mean, what this religious text mean. I mean, myself as a queer kid, I got very, very invested or interested in learning about religion after I moved, like different types of religion. And like going back, and the core message of all of these things is supposed to point us towards like unity and love, and it, like the subclauses are minuscule in, or while you're able to see like the full view of things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because all religious texts, in my opinion, from what I have learned, I don't know everything about religion. I am not, I'm not Jesus, I promise. Might look like him a little bit, I don't know. Nah. Just in the stash. But I don't know. They all kind of summarize the same story, just with different rules, you know? And that was a very, very fast realization that I had, like, in my early teens after we moved and doing my research. See, I should have probably, like, cited them websites just to make sure, double, triple, extra check, you know?
For me, I feel like we all get to have our own experience, and a big part of this, like just getting a chance to talk about it, is like we get to define it as like for me, I have had spiritual experiences. I know I have a spirit. I know I have a soul. Like my transness is a direct result of my connection with my spirit. It's putting my divine inside on the outside, like how I experience and see mine. So like for me, it's all like spiritual as fuck. But when I try to like define it all or wrap it in some sort of like belief system or structure, it becomes very difficult. So for me, I feel like I've experienced it, and I don't know how the fuck to talk about it, but I know that there's these connections that I have, and there's these moments, and when I'm actually trying or attempting to connect with this thing, I tend to have a little bit better experience with life. There's some hope, there's some joy, there's some I'm a little kinder.
Yeah, literally. That's crazy. That's honestly some of my experiences when it comes to like wanting to be more spiritual, whether it be more, like outputting good, or I always try to output good, you know what I mean? Always trying to be supportive, love, all that good stuff. But when it comes to trying to focus on spirituality, I feel that same thing where it just gets very confusing. It's I don't really identify with a certain text because a majority of them don't agree with my existence, But like you said, when you feel the moments where you are connected to something, or you feel, I don't know, comfort in a higher power or a higher being, it's like, it does make things better. Like, it makes you feel kind of seen a little bit by something that you were kind of taught would hate you,
Yeah, for sure. We are right at like around the 40-minute mark. I usually like to go about 45 minutes. I know that time she went so fast.
It did. I had so much fun though.
Likewise. Well, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak to anything that we maybe haven't spoken to yet, that you wanted to try to talk about tonight.
Definitely. I know a big subject that I would like to bring up and make more prevalent, like in discussion, especially in the queer community, is addiction. I struggled with addiction, or I still have struggles with addiction, and it is something that I feel like plagues a lot of people, a lot of performers, a lot of gay youth, queer youth in general, and I feel like us bringing it up more in conversation and starting dialogue about it would make it easier for a lot of people going through the same thing to reach out.
Yeah,
I feel like we have already lost way too many amazing people to addiction, and didn't mean to take such a deep turn, but I feel like it's something I'm very, very passionate about. I feel like there's a huge taboo around addiction or even talking about having a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And inbox me if you're an addict. I'll try to counsel you. I'm probably not the best
Right.
person to get tips from, but I don't know.
I hear you. You're just saying
happens.
about it.
Yeah, it happens to people. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's more frequent than not, with a lot of queer youth who don't have people or feel like they don't have people to turn to. So that is what you turn to. You turn to and it can get really, really bad. And I just wanted to bring like that up to maybe, I don't know, turn some cogs in people's heads.
Yeah.
And also, I want to say clearly, just because somebody uses or has had issues with addiction does not mean they are a shitty person.
Right. It has nothing to do with that at all.
Yeah. It's with my experience, it is a disease. Like, there will be days where it's like, oh, everything's fine and dandy, and then like, I'll look at something one way, get a different view of it, and like suddenly, I want a kilo,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not.
And it's such a personal thing. Like, you're the one who knows. Like, there are times in my life where drinking and drugs were a gift, and they afforded me a life when I couldn't get it or give it to myself.
Yeah.
But eventually,
at first,
it did start to take away, and that might not be for everyone, right? But I know for me, it was starting to distract me. It was starting to take me away from it. It was starting to cause all these conflicts. It was starting to do the opposite of what it did when I started. And
literally.
Mm-hmm. And then by then it was a lot more difficult to kind of let go of. And, I love that you just want to bring it up to talk about, because it isn't so black and white, and it isn't so like, don't do it or do it in your like whatever. And it has nothing to do with like somebody's morals or values.
Very that. And that's my thing. Like, I don't know, consistently using certain substances can definitely affect, certain things upstairs, but
yeah,
being an addict does not inherently make you a shitty person. Making mistakes does not inherently make you a shitty person, as long as you are consistently trying to level up and do better and be better and spread better. Spread your legs wider,
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a reason that everything, I don't necessarily, like, not everything happens for a reason, but there's often a reason behind the things that are happening, and it's not always what it seems to be. And I think
never face value.
Exactly. The more and more, I've been clean and sober for like 14 years now.
Oh my God, congrats.
I used for many more than that. But I think the thing that's, that idea around, it's weird. And spirituality oftentimes is attached to morality, and spirituality is often, sometimes I think, something you hear about people accessing to kind of deal with addiction. Not always. But I was going to say something, and it was like, oh, well, I think just to be human is to be an addict.
Yeah, you're addicted to the highs and lows.
Well, whatever it is to take us out of ourselves, right? Or to help us cope with living, or cope with not being a god, to deal with our humanity. It's not easy being human.
I don't know about you, but I am a god. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it all comes down to language. Why wouldn't you in some ways be, if you are, like, that's a whole thing, I'm
gonna put that on my fridge.
Well, yeah.
You said I'm a god.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, I think it all just comes down to language and our understanding. I can understand people also saying we're not gods, but I can also understand saying that we're because we're made of God or by a God, then we are of God, but again, I don't get too hung up on all that stuff personally. But I love just hearing people talk about it, and just think about it, and just recognize that, like, at the end of the day, regardless of like religion and everything else, there is something within us that animates us and causes us to like be in life. And that's the thing that I want to tap into, and not only of my own, but like the people around me, you know?
Genuinely, like, the more, I don't know, this past January, December, February was, I feel like, the worst chapter that I've gone through, especially pertaining to addiction. And I don't know, the conversations that I made myself bring up with people around me, how certain things made me feel, what was going on behind the curtain, so to say, and like bringing a light to it. It just kind of, it felt good to be able to do that and have people receive it well. Because at first, when I was trying to like signal for like, hey, we're all, she might not need to pick up that pipe, you know? Like,
Yeah.
And that's also another thing. Fuck Grindr for making drugs so accessible to you. And the devil, you're gonna find it if you want to find it, but also
where there's a will, there's a way.
Bury that. Well,
yeah,
there's a will, there's a grace, for sure.
Totally.
But
awesome.
I don't know, coming out from that, not saying scot-clear or scot-free, I think that's the saying, at all. I don't know, it taught me a lot about addiction's perception within the community, or not even just within the community, but with people in general, how people view addicts and how people view certain like side effects of consistently using and stuff like that. How it's initially perceived as like, you know, Jesus, you need God, you know, like,
right.
But actually talking with people more about it instead of, you know, getting upset and feeling like I didn't have people. I don't know. I feel like it was more beneficial for both parties, if that makes sense. It gave them an insight on what I was going through and gave me an insight on what they were thinking and why they were thinking that way. So I'm just bringing it up more, talking about it. It makes all the difference, because literally in January I was like, oh, I'm all alone. This is sucky. Let me, you know, go grab the pipe or the bottle. And no, grab that girl, grab that lash curler, and let's skedaddle, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, we are out of time, but I really want to thank you so much. I really enjoyed getting a chance to get to know you a little bit more today. I hope we continue to stay in touch.
For sure.
Never
I'm Team Bonnie forever.
All right. Yeah, I'm like, never hesitate to reach out, and I'll do my best to check in as well too. Hope that I can see you at Spiritual Drag Con if you can make it. I would love to. Fantastic.
I would love to be there.
Awesome. And I want to thank everyone who joined us this evening, or who are listening or watching this after the fact. At the bottom of the screen, you can see all the ways that you can get connected with Red via, you know, Snapchat and TikTok and YouTube. So you can find that either playing on the screen, or you'll find it in the description wherever it is you're watching or listening to this. As I said at the beginning of the show, this is episode 1 of 12. And so you can join us each week on Wednesday. So check out the link. There's like, you know, it depends on what time zone you're in and all that stuff. And my brain is not in a place to list all the times for that. So check out the links in the description. Know that if you're watching this live, it's the same time it is now, just next week. I'll play also, like, at the end of this, I'll play like a little clip so you can see all the guests that we're going to be having over the next 12 weeks. I'm really excited. We have like folks from, like, we have just all the walks of life. We have a drag queen.
Or runs, you know.
What's that?
All different walks or runs.
Or rolls or whatever it is. However way you get around.
And I want to say, like, thank you so much for giving me this platform and giving me an opportunity to come on and, you know, banter. I really, really appreciate it. And like having that one area specifically where you were like, is there a topic you want to bring up? That's awesome. You're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that you could join us. So I'm not going to belabor this too much more, but thanks everyone for joining us this evening. Take care and be well. And I'm going to clumsy this up a little bit, but we'll get it done.